Can you tell us your name and where are you from?
I am Dr. Linda Rochelle Lane. I am a native of Arkansas, the rural South, and I moved here recently 2 years ago from Atlanta, Georgia.
What do you do for a living?
I wear a number of hats. Primarily, I'm a history professor, and basically, I have taught at high schools and colleges. I've taught at South Carolina State, and currently, I do projects with South Carolina State and at Benedict College. I teach full time. I've taught in Atlanta at Morehouse College, at Clark Atlanta University, Tuskegee University. I've also taught at high school. So primarily, I'm a teacher, but I also write. Um, Academic books and children's books related to African American people. And I am an artist. I have a studio downtown Columbia, and I illustrate my children's books as well and design dolls. So I do a number of things. I also speak on the lecture circuit about African American culture and people.
Why is an event like this important?
This event is very important because it keeps the music heritage alive. Um, African Americans are celebrating right now. This is February and it's African American History Month. And we need to make sure we highlight the achievements of African Americans. And music is just one of the many areas in which we've contributed so much. And Roberta Flack is one of the divas from an earlier time period. And you young people need to know about it. And we middle-aged people need to celebrate with her because we remember her during her time in the 1970s. So all of these, anything that spotlights and highlights African American achievement is very important.
What are your keys to success?
My keys to success, I work very hard. I'm always trying to learn new skills and to fine tune the skills that I have. I read a tremendous amount. I'm not afraid to take risks, but I believe mainly education is the key. When I was in high school, I did work very hard. I went to college. I have 4 degrees. So I believe education is important. I think you need to get as much education as possible. And while you're in school, take advantage of all the different opportunities in the classes that will give you a variety of skills so you'll be broad-based and have a broad background. And so if one thing doesn't work out, you can fall back on another skill.
Why do you feel keeping the arts in school are important?
I think keeping the arts in school is extremely important because it helps to build self-esteem. It helps to build self-confidence. If you have self-esteem, you feel good about yourself, you think positive about life, then you can achieve anything. So the fine arts just help us to be positive people.
What advice do you have for out for students who want to do what you do?
The advice I have is to um, whatever skill you're interested in, go ahead and start now. Don't wait until you get to a certain age. If you think one day you may want to be a writer, start writing stories now. Start writing poems now. And then by the time you get my age, you'll be experienced. You will be become a professional. So start now. If you're interested in painting and drawing, start now. If you're interested even in being a teacher, start teaching your younger brothers and sisters. Start teaching in Sunday school. Just start doing whatever you want to achieve in life. Start working on it now, and you'll be amazed at the difference it makes by 20 years from now.
Can you show us some of your books?
Sure, I can show you some of my books as well as some of my artwork. Do you want me just to stand and walk over?
Can Can you show us some of your artworks and your books?
Sure. I have here. Um, Recently, 2 books just came out. Josephine Baker, some of you may know of her. She was one of the great achievers starting in the Harlem Renaissance era and then up through the late 20th century. She was a great entertainer, performer, and singer and dancer. And so this is just a true story written in a poetic form. And I wrote and illustrated the books, and it's very colorful and just gives you a little perspective on her life and her achievements. So that's Josephine Baker. I also have another children's book that recently came out. It's called Bettina's Dream. Now, this is a historical fiction. In this book, you see the cover may look a little bit different. I took some African fabric, the batik fabric, and then painted my pictures over the fabric. But in this book, the objective is to introduce young people to African culture, positive image of African people and African culture. So the batik is just one of those images that you see immediately about the many different fabrics that African people have contributed, including the type of fabric and designs that I have on. This is traditional African dress. And in this book, Bettina is a little girl in the United States, and she studies about various cultures and the various places, and Africa is just one of her favorite places. And so then she starts dreaming about going to Africa, and she wakes up in the real Africa. So this is a fiction, but you get cultural and historical information that's correct, that gives you an idea about Africa. Included in the center is real African names for girls and boys, just a small list so that you can be acquainted with African culture at an early age. I also have an academic book, a documentary of Mrs. Booker T. Washington. This is more for college level, and many public libraries and college libraries are carrying this book, but it is the only book out on one of Booker T. Washington's wives. He had 3 wives. He was widowed twice, and then he married Margaret Mary Washington, and she was at his side through his greatest achievements, and this tells about her work for women as a dean of women at Tuskegee, establishing benevolent clubs during the Progressive Reform era, and all she did to help uplift people as well as to work alongside her husband. Margaret Mary Washington died in